Guess who's coming to sauna? Hekilunta. Guess who's coming to sauna? Hekilunta.
Hey, welcome again to another episode here of the Upper Bench Sauna Podcast. As always, I'm joined with Risto and Arrow, and today we've got a little bit of a special episode here. We're going to give a little shout out. We're making this episode special for the Seattle Sauna Festival. Now, the Seattle Sauna Festival is Pacific Northwest first large-scale gathering dedicated to the art of sauna, wellness, and community connection. This two-day celebration invites guests to step into the steam and experience the magic of sauna culture through sauna sessions, cold plunges, live music, and Nordic-inspired food and drinks. Whether you're brand new to tradition or a seasoned sauna lover, this festival is your invitation to relax, renew, and celebrate sauna culture Seattle style. Welcome, guys. I know I'm not going to be able to be in Seattle for this event, but I'm already booking my travel for next year. Super excited. Risto, Arrow, what are you guys doing? What do you know?
Well, it's so great to be able to do this special episode because I was actually in Seattle in early May, and went back and forth from Seattle to Bellingham, where I did my speech, and then back to Seattle. I went to the Nordic Museum. I've been there. I know the fantastic location, and not only that, but I don't know how many times I've brought it up during a podcast, but places like the Nordic Museum are very close to my heart because I'm the chairman of the North American Sauna Society. But what I'm trying to tell now is that I'm the president of Finlandia Foundation New York chapter, and so we do have connections to everything Nordic, and in this end in New York, it's Scandinavia House that we work together with quite a lot. But besides this also, so coming back to why I was in Seattle, Bellingham in May, was that I am just finishing my Finlandia Foundation Nationals Lecturer of the Year assignment. So I was there talking about saunas as I was in Chicago last weekend. But anyway, so it's an honor to give our greetings to the folks at the museum and at the event. I cannot, this I've been going back and forth, West Coast, East Coast, Midwest, all over the place, all through the year. So let's plan on doing that. Let's go back to Seattle, which is one of my favorite places, with the sockeye salmon and all that stuff. But anyway, so life is good, Sam, and Risto. What about you?
Oh, life is good, and greetings to all the festival goers. Our family just got back from the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, and it was peak fall color season. Wonderful time hanging out by the lake. I actually lost my old glasses in the lake, so I'm wearing these. But it was great. We had a sauna right on Lake Superior, so it was just a relaxing and good family getaway for us. And this festival, it would be great to make it one of these days, but I was especially encouraged that they were connected with the Nordic Museum because I think that Finnish connection to sauna is crucial. Sometimes I think that gets lost in North America. For all of my growing up, I knew what a sauna was, but I didn't know that it was even Finnish. So I thought maybe a good thing to share with the festival goers would be some of the history of sauna in North America. How did it get to such a place that in the 1980s and 1990s that probably most Americans didn't even know that it was a Finnish thing? So I have a slideshow put together. I've shown it before on a different podcast, but I'd like to get Sam and Arrow's feedback and take and input as we go through just a little sliver of history of sauna in North America.
So how much can we interrupt you? I'm already interrupting you.
Please interrupt a lot. And any of the viewers, if you have any questions or any feedback you want to contribute to that story, give your opinion, please do so in the comments, especially the people at the festival.
Sounds good.
Well, let me cue it up. Okay. Just a brief history of sauna in North America. I started with this quote from one of the first national sauna company owners, and his story is very interesting. Cecil Ellis. He kind of made this prophetic statement back in the 50s, I think it was. And he says, our genius for efficiency and oversimplification may lead to an adulteration of sauna's time-honored custom and benefits. Cecil Ellis was an Englishman who married a Finnish wife. That's how he got into it.
That's a
So,
pretty
but
powerful statement.
so Englishman, but they lived in the U.S. Is that the
Yeah,
case?
yeah, just a brief bit of his story. He met this Finnish wife, fell in love, got married, and then fell in love with sauna. They had property where they built a sauna on the Finnish-Russian border in that area. And it was
Oh.
during World War. Arrow, when did Russia take that region?
The Winter War started in 39
Okay.
and the continuation war in 41. So it's 41 to 44 when there was actual fighting in Finland. So it was they had to leave twice, and I can't remember exactly when they were evacuated, but I would assume like 42.
Yeah, the story was that Ellis was sounding when Russia invaded that area, and then he had to flee, and then him and his wife met, and they settled down in Connecticut.
Awesome story. And I really are you gonna explain this, because I think most of the viewers won't understand necessarily, or then I'm wrong, but what that actually this sentence. Are you gonna go deeper into this sentence? Are you gonna break into into pieces, or how does it go?
Well, we can. The sentence comes from
Yep.
one of the founders of the Finnish Sauna Society wrote a book about sauna. So this was H.J. Viherjuri. And this is one of the best early English language books. He's like a godfather of modern sauna. And Cecil wrote the foreword for it. And so I think he was kind of concerned, thinking that the way that we productize things and kind of get all excited about the health benefits of things could potentially present a problem for the robust practice of Finnish sauna.
I think I understand 100% this sentence, but I'm just what I'm kind of after here is like why the thrive for efficiency and oversimplification. Why would it lead to that adulteration? So it's just like that. That's kind of what we have to answer here, right?
I think a lot of it, you're pointing at, this quote's coming from Risto, what'd you say, the 50s?
Yep.
Yeah. And so, I mean, I think this would be really, pointing at, we always are going for that quick fix. And Cecil saw it. He knew it was coming down the pipe, and he knew it would even bleed over into his favorite thing, sauna. So, I really do take this quote to heart. I think we need to take a step back and look at what we do with sauna and our sauna traditions so that, we don't let it deteriorate any further.
In my mind, so and this is what I've been lecturing the whole year or a couple of years, if you count everything together, is that what you do is to make a sale, and it's kind of understandable. You break the sauna bathing process into pieces, and obviously you need something hot to be able to do sauna. So you have the hot box, but then you have to compromise on the other elements of that sauna, and that becomes the oversimplification part. So it's like you cannot go and buy the sauna bathing experience, and the sauna bathing experience is lacking still. For many people, it's kind of that experience is lacking. It's just like back in the day, it used to be the hot thing. Now is a phenomenon. It's a fad that it's a cold plunge. Cold plunge is easy. Now we have hot and cold, hot and cold, hot and cold, but still kind of the process. What else it should include is lacking because of the strive for efficiency and oversimplification.
Yeah, it's harder to sell a smoke sauna than just a little 4x6 kit. But so we'll trace the history of that, how we got to where we're at. So originally, I would say kind of the simplified conception of sauna was as the Finnish hot air and vapor bath. Today, I would just say sauna's kind of, it lost the Finnish part, it lost the hot air, it lost the vapor. It ended up just being warm air. And it's an ancient practice. Even we've talked about inipi and sweat lodge. So that's probably kind of the oldest expression of it. And there's the famous Finnish picture.
Oh, yep. I love that one.
There was a huge amount of immigration to the U.S. in the late 1800s and early 1900s. And this map kind of shows where that immigration happened. So you can see like most of the people came to Minnesota, Michigan, but then also, hey, representing on the West Coast, Washington State, and then Oregon, California. I don't know if I said New York already.
A good bit in Massachusetts as well.
Yeah, actually, there were several public saunas Finnish public saunas in Massachusetts. And then there's kind of zoomed in on the darker area. You can see in the Minnesota and Michigan Upper Peninsula areas where the most immigration was.
I mean, you really see a lot of similarities between that region of the Midwest of the U.S. and Finland. So you've got a lot of little islands, you got a huge body of water with all the Great Lakes there. That's very similar to probably where they were coming from.
That is so true. It looks the same, you know. It's almost disturbing, like Duluth, where I was for the FinFest this year. You know, it's pretty much Finland. They didn't move to Texas as some people do.
Yeah, I mean, there's a few enclaves, right? There's an enclave down in Florida. There's a few smaller ones, but the majority of the immigration were to these areas. Actually, our family was just in the Upper Peninsula in Copper Country, Keweenaw area. That's where we just got back from. And there's so many saunas there. It's fun. You just drive around and it's just like sauna, 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 sauna everywhere.
Oh, yeah, and that's where, anybody who's a fan of the show, we've talked about those hunting cabins, that big black swatch up there in northern Minnesota. I've been in some saunas up there in that country, and it's just, oh, it's awesome. There's no running water, there's no electricity. You've been out for a few days. There's nothing better than a wood-fired sauna to get cleaned up in the nice cold. It's wonderful up there.
This is just I'm kind of a word geek. The understanding of how people talked about sauna way back in the day. So this is from Google Ngram Viewer. It has a representation of word occurrences in books. And you can see that while we know it as sauna or sauna, that's the common North American understanding, it wasn't always the case. If you go way back in the day, vapor bath was a pretty common term, and then steam bath. So a lot of old articles, you'll see it called not sauna, but the Finnish steam bath.
Where's that kind of that crossover there? I can't really see the year. Where did it really kind of take off?
That looks like probably 73-ish.
This beauty, that green line is probably the one that we should be looking at, because of, and there are several reasons for this, but it's like very many people that I bumped into don't want to understand that sauna is all about making steam. That making steam is crucial for the sauna experience. And we are like sidestepping there. So now that I say this every time and ad nauseum, I know, but I finally, after I've been involved with the North American Sauna Society, I repeat myself, more than 20 years I've been involved, and I've always wondered what a dry sauna means. And again, once again, it's a sauna that does not serve alcohol. That's the dry sauna. So there's no other way of looking at it, because there's no dry sauna. It can't be a sauna if it's dry, because sauna is about making steam.
Actually, the transition to sauna, well, it's a win for the Finnish language. One of the downsides is that you lost, as you packed it all in there, right? You packed in Finnish steam bath or vapor bath. One of the downsides is that you lose the Finnish part, the steam part, and the bath part. It just becomes, like I said earlier at the beginning, just kind of warm air.
Right. Yeah, you lose so many descriptors there. It was hard to call it anything else when it had that full name. And nowadays, we all know sauna could mean a lot of things. You
Yep.
can just Google sauna, you're going to get a lot of things that may or may not be sauna. And so by condensing it down into one word that isn't well understood here in North America yet, I think that's where we're seeing this splintering. It's going off in a million different directions because it really is kind of starting from scratch.
Yeah, so there's part of Cecil's oversimplification. And while it feels like it was moving more Finnish by saying sauna, it actually moved perhaps less Finnish.
That is so true.
Yeah.
That is so true. And if you talk to people about steam baths, they say what they envision is something totally different.
Well, and interesting historical fact is dry sauna. Cecil was actually probably one of the people that popularized that term early on because he was trying to differentiate it from a steam room or like a Turkish hammam. But that term has lots of different meanings today also. Usually it just means don't put water on the rocks.
Exactly, exactly, and I totally understand where he was coming from, and it's totally it's clear that that compared to those hammam and steam rooms, it is drier, but then again, once again, making steam is the whole point, and now it has like disappeared for a lot of people.
So the question I had as I was putting this together was, how did it go from this one to that one? How did it go from this giant bathhouse, to just a little 3x3 infrared closet?
That sauna where the lady is standing, in front of, that's not on code. Do you know why? Because the wood, the logs are stacked on the side of the sauna. That's not in Finland. It's not on code anymore. So you have to get the logs, not leaning on the actual sauna. Just wanted to point it out there. So
Safety first, people. I mean,
Yep.
exactly, exactly. But that's a good question. Yes.
I think there's a lot of ways to skin that question. Especially people nowadays don't have a lot of room anymore. Not everyone has a backyard. People are living in apartments more, and I think that that rural country lifestyle is really kind of gone by the wayside, where a lot of these structures, they were built with old repurposed barn wood, or they had access to mill their own lumber because they butted up against 40 acres of woods, and they could make whatever they wanted, and they had the tools and know how to do it. Where nowadays we're really just not incentivized to be making our own things anymore. So having this pre-packaged product available to us is kind of our result of that those other conveniences in life that we've given up.
Yep. So that's that cover of that book where Cecil's quote is. So if you can track down a copy of that from your library, make sure you read the foreword. And so this is I'd like to introduce you to Mr. Ellis, and he was known by Mr. Sauna. He was featured in articles in the area, and it's interesting when you look at those articles what sauna looked like to them. The articles back in the day were sort of their Instagram. So, I mean, what kind of jumps out to you guys as it's introduced to North America?
I love the communal aspect of it. All these pictures are really saying, hey, we're a group of people, either a family or a group of friends, and this is something we're doing and enjoying together. 4 out of those 5 pictures have multiple people in them. It's not just somebody sitting in their box alone. So, and I really like that.
Yeah, and also, if you look at the picture on the upper right corner, it's just like it would be quite disturbing if that wasn't a sauna. Like, why on earth would people like walking in the swimming gear? So many people going up, apparently going for a swim, most likely. But anyway, but you can see that the typical, the most typical, almost everywhere you always have a sauna with a dressing room, always. and that's kind of a, it's an important part of the sauna experience. And coming back to the discussion that we had before, you can see those pails, those buckets, and you can see the kids washing themselves inside the hot room. So that was kind of obviously that was why the sauna was there in the first place. So you have the whole thing. I remember a while back, I think we spoke about this on one of our podcasts, but there was somebody talking about sauna, and we're talking about saunas brought from people's basements, their backyards, and somebody was at the discussion forum was complaining that who would anybody like want to go outside in order to sauna bathe, and obviously the answer is everyone, because that's a crucial part of the experience, and but anyway, so there's nature obviously always close by, and hopefully, if you're lucky, also a body of water.
Yeah, nature, changing rooms, separate building, families, community. It's interesting to look at the face of his daughter for that press photo, though. She doesn't look happy. Cecil's daughter doesn't look happy to be part of that.
True.
Well, they were probably standing in the doorway. She was probably mad they were letting all the heat out.
So true.
So, and then even the titles, you can see it's interesting to watch those evolve. This is in the Hartford Current, Hartford, Connecticut, and it says Finnish sauna, health in a hot house. But also you see the seeds being sown for where we were going to go off the rails. It mentions health and it mentions hot, and that's where it gets just oversimplified. Sauna gets oversimplified into those two things. So that sauna, the one that you mentioned, Arrow, is in a place called Happy Acres, and I think Cecil helped build that one.
Nice.
This is Cecil's sauna that he had in his yard, kind of his demonstration sauna.
Whoa.
Wow, look at that.
Yeah, super beautiful. This was somewhere in Connecticut, like in Hartford, Connecticut area, maybe there somewhere.
Outside of it, it was kind of in a ski area, I think. And then he would early on, before he started selling saunas, you could pay to come and use that sauna. So it was just kind of like a semi-private public sauna.
Hmm.
And already they start to get stuff wrong in these articles, mistranslate stuff. There we can maybe see some of the origins of sauna, or rhymes with Lana, and then it mentions, oh, hey, you can lose weight by using this thing.
Yep.
And now the articles start to morph. It starts to change into it's healthy, and then it moves from family and community to 23-year-old scantily clad women, which is better for sales, perhaps.
Perhaps.
Yeah, so this is just over the time you start to see it's becoming popular. It's a fad. It becomes about heat, and it moved indoors also.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that was that was on internet. It was not in the US alone, not even close. It was also in Finland and everywhere. It moved from the backyard thing. It went inside, and in the US, particularly in people's basements. So that was one of the elements was lost at that point.
And now it's talking about dry heat. They're mostly indoors, although some of these indoor setups are pretty nice. I would take that one in the upper right.
Yeah, me too.
What's
Maybe add another bench.
Look at that one. Is that like a living room thing?
I
Where
think so.
That is a heavily compromised sauna setup. So I want to see people sitting in that chair with their sweaty butts.
Yeah, once it's a kit and once it's dry heat, you can do away with the drain, and you can get away with just kind of putting it in any room. This is from Cecil Ellis's company, and they ended up I think they were custom at first, and then they started doing these kits. He was in Middlefield, there it is. And it's interesting that most of these early saunas were redwood. Redwood was the cedar before cedar became popular.
anyone who has listened to this podcast has heard me go on about wood species and how Western red cedar is really going the way of the redwood, where the redwood is, no longer, you go to California and cut down a redwood tree, you're in some trouble, you know. I could foresee us, hopefully, Risto, your grandkids or somebody has a sauna podcast years from now, and they're talking about, remember when you used to make saunas out of cedar? And they'll be thinking the same thing we are about redwood right now.
Yeah, that very well could be. And then it says now it's, become very trendy in the 70s, and the sauna it's not a family affair anymore. It's just like a little one-person kit, and you can see, I think by this time, his company got pretty big. He had a public sauna in New York City, but he had sold his company, and so it starts to show up as smaller and smaller. In fact, if you look at the one kit on the right-hand side, it's interesting. It's like a little fold-up sauna.
Yeah. This is like in the 70s, maybe.
Yeah.
So, and you have all the elements now. You have like this is actually a Finnish tunturi is how it was, the exercise bike. So that was very typical exercise bike when I was growing up back home in Finland, in the early days. But so you have that gym set up already here. So it's like, so the gym thing, exercising gear and the sauna and the scale are already there.
Yep. A few more small kits. This is after I think his company is sold. So it still has his name on it, but it's now become just kind of a small product. And so I put a list here. It's kind of some of the things that were lost along the way as it became oversimplified, that it was a like kind of the social place, that community bathhouse aspect was lost. Although that's coming back a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
It was a place where you could malt barley and smoke meats. And that's the old school Savu sauna, I think.
Yes, definitely so.
A place to fight illness, and that, I guess, we do kind of have the health angle, so that's there a little bit. Recovery from hard work, place to reset, and then all the different senses that could be engaged. I just put a list there of all the things I could think of, like the heat, the cold, fire, the smoke, all the different smells of birch, oak, pine, tar, resin from the walls.
Yeah, that the smell is a very important part actually of a sauna bathing experience, and hence it's such a hit in the head when what you can basically only thing you can smell is sweat. It's so off-putting that there's nothing to compare.
And then, chopping wood. I know Sam likes to do that and tending to the fires.
Yep, absolutely. Honestly, half of my ritual, it's about an hour prep for my wood stove, and that hour before I even get into the first session is so important to me, just like sitting in the hot room. We were talking about that a little earlier. You can't go buy those experiences. And I think making it your own, finding those little traditions, finding that and holding on to it and hopefully being able to share it and pass it along and invite others into those little family traditions. That's how your culture is going to get grown. That's how your local traditions, turn into local culture, turn into bigger and better things.
Yeah. And then, it was a hygienic place where women could give birth, and they apparently prepare bodies for burial there. It'd be interesting if you saw that on Instagram these days, on the sauna Instagram.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, yeah. I mean, and honestly, what a better argument for a floor drain.
Yeah, I don't know why I'm taking this stance today, but the place to fight illness is not something that I would necessarily stress that much because it gives you resistance to illnesses, but it like when you're sick, stay out of the sauna. But obviously, yeah, it's no matter what, it's good for you. And that I have been talking to a lot of folks this year about that social gathering thing. And this is like everything in life. It's such an easy thing to understand because the only thing we had basically back in the day were smoke saunas, not the continuously heated heaters, but the smoke saunas, which are preheated, obviously. Otherwise, you're gonna die in there because of the carbon monoxide poisoning. So anyway, so you really like you really didn't think twice in your own home village because when the sauna is hot, it's hot. It's better going there. So basically the whole village went in there in the hot room at the same time. So hence you have the social aspect of things. The community comes without any trying because you cannot like in a modern heater you can have it on like 8, 9, 10, 12 hours or day in day out, but not back in the day.
Yeah. And I think we've talked about this quite a bit, but so it's kind of worth considering as you go out and experience different saunas and you kind of build your own and foster a sauna community and culture, perhaps to kind of reverse the clock on what Cecil Ellis said, to aim for things that aren't so efficient or so simplified and try and add more and more of those elements little by little, which is what we're kind of always talking about.
Absolutely. Something that I definitely would love to, just put in the back of people's mind that are attending the event in Seattle. What is it about the event that you love? What is it about sauna culture that you love? And remember, that those little things that are intangible, those are little things that can't be sold or bought. So remember as you attend the event and are talking to friends and family that are sitting there next to you, what are those pieces of the puzzle? What are the pieces that you're really enjoying? And just remember, a lot of things you can take home with you, but a cool event like that, I don't think is happening in everybody's backyard. But you can always strive to make it your own. So, really, really cool. Really excited for everybody out there in Seattle. I love seeing these local regional events becoming more popular, more and more popular. So hopefully next year we'll be able to do this live for everybody and sit down and have some great conversations about sauna.
Yeah, totally agree.
Totally agree. Yeah. No, we can't talk enough of this oversimplification, what is happening, because, in a way, it takes so much away from the actual experience. Uh, a lot of folks contact daily the North American Sauna Society, and people ask about what kind of sauna should be. People are in the process of getting themselves their first saunas ever, and we've touched this before, but kind of even though people don't wash themselves in the hot room anymore like they used to back in the day, but going back to that one chart, it's if you have a sauna where you can bathe in, you have a real sauna by default.
Absolutely. And if you never have actually washed up and done the whole bucket of water over your head while you're sitting in the hot room, find yourself a sauna that allows you to do that and give it a whirl, because I think you're going to enjoy it.
Yep. That's
Yeah,
good homework, Sam.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. My homework assignment for everybody. Yep, put a bucket of water over their head in the sauna.
Yeah, and you should do that after you have that, if you are into the honey and salt treatment. So it's like, the bucket is just in its place when you try to get rid of
Yeah.
the gunk on your skin.
Yeah, I don't know if we'll have to, definitely follow up with everybody at the event and see, what went well and what they would love to see for next year. I'm sure, the coordinators are going to want some great feedback, and you're always welcome to reach out to us too if you've got questions, things you want to hear, things you want to see, things you want us to discuss, or even if you want to jump on and be a guest for a quick minute or two or a full episode. You're more than welcome to reach out to us at theupperbench.com or leave us a comment below I believe this will be out on YouTube, and you'll probably be able to see some links on Facebook and all the social medias and all that too.
Yeah. Thank you very much for letting us join you virtually.
Thanks.
Absolutely.
Thank you,
Thank you
everyone.
guys so much.